Hey everybody, it's your friend Adam, artist, author, and filmmaker, 22 years in the Hollywood filmmaking trenches, founder of the largest studio-level writers lab in Los Angeles. How do you guys like my new intro? It's pretty cool, huh? You didn't know I was a big shot, did you? I'm here with Isaac. The name of his channel is Ask Yourself, and I'm here with TJump. I've debated TJump and I've debated Isaac on objective morality, which I think we kind of have a three-way Mexican standoff here, because I think we could all, I think we all have completely different positions. TJump and I are both moral realists. We believe there are moral facts. Isaac is a moral subjectivist. And now these two are going to have a bit of a debate. Do you want to introduce yourself a bit, Isaac, before we start?
Well, I just would add subjectivism doesn't entail that there aren't facts. But yeah, I mean, I have a YouTube channel. It's Ask Yourself. I make videos about, philosophy. Main topic is animal rights. And I also like stuff like this, like general moral debates.
Cool. Tom, you want to introduce yourself? And
Sure. I'm Tom. I do debates and stuff on my YouTube channel, where I debate mostly about the existence of God. Please leave Adam's channel and go to my channel. It's much better, much more entertaining.
I think our last debate was on modern day debate on the Modern Day Debate channel, which was good. We had a good spicy exchange. So hopefully
Who won?
Me, obviously.
Oh,
Are
I
you
won.
kidding me? I completely destroyed him. It was so obvious. I don't know these debates. I don't know. Sometimes I don't feel like they change anyone's mind. They're a lot of fun, though. I have fun with them. So who wants to begin? I think you, Isaac. You guys were talking about terms.
I'll begin by saying something. Oh, we were talking about an unrelated topic. We were talking about epistemic justification theories.
Okay.
So I'll start, but not by necessarily just taking the offensive here. So I'm not actually sure if Tom and I disagree. I'm not sure exactly what his position is. So unless you object to this, what might be easiest is just for you to describe your position. And if it strikes me as strange, I'll give you some kind of critique. And if it doesn't, then I'll just say, I agree with you.
Okay, sure.
What fun is that? No, I don't want that. Come on. You guys got to fight.
Well, I don't know his position well enough to actually know if we disagree with each other.
Am I being a good moderator here? It doesn't seem like I'm impartial.
I think you're doing fine.
We can both turn on the moderator. Let's just bash on Adam here. That'll be fun.
So go ahead. I won't interrupt.
Hey, we can both tag team defeat him on veganism after, right? We're both vegans here, aren't we? Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
there you go.
What have I got myself into? Holy shit.
So
yeah, exactly.
I agree. Vegans have the moral high ground. I just think that I'm an immoral person and I eat cheeseburgers anyway. I just grant my immorality.
This is not a vegan debate. Can we stay on topic?
All right. So give me your moral view.
All right, so I believe there's objective morality, by which I mean a morality that is true, independent of opinion. So it's like gravity. It exists as a part of the universe in a sense, and no one's opinion matters. They don't care. You don't get an opinion. You don't get to think it's wrong. It's true whether you like it or not. Objective. So it's an existing thing independent of opinions. And my grounding for this is kind of like when Newton saw the apple drop. He saw this as an observation, and he tried to describe the observation as best he could to create a model of what is just accurately portrays what he saw. And I'm trying to do the same thing. So just like he saw the apple drop and he created a mathematical description of what that is, I'm looking at our moral intuitions and our answers to philosophical dilemmas in the problem of ethics. And I'm trying to pattern those out to point to a conclusion, which is what I believe to be objective morality. Now, the fact that we have the intuitions doesn't make it objective. That's just the way we know. That's the epistemic grounds of how we know about morality. That doesn't make it objective. What makes it objective, I believe, it's kind of like an abstract object. You have a triangle. If you draw a triangle, no matter what, if it's on a flat surface, the angles will always add up to 180 degrees. It's objectively true. Triangles don't exist. They're abstract objects, but it still has objectively true facts about it. And I think morality is the same kind of a thing, where it can be an abstract, objective facts about the relations we have between each other. And so it can be true in the sense that the angles in the triangle are true. So we can say that from my position, if we take one ethics dilemma, if you force someone to do something like eat an apple, as opposed to giving them the option to eat the apple, giving them the option is always morally superior than forcing them to eat the apple. So if we take that and generalize it as much as possible, anytime you impose something on someone without their consent is immoral. That is the objective immoral standard from my position. And I believe it applies kind of like the triangles at angles of the triangle. It's just objectively true. It's an abstract relation, and you don't get an opinion on it. I think that's just the general outline. But do you need more than that?
Well, there's stuff there that is standing out to me as a bit odd. So you said that there are moral facts. Now, I just want to know what a moral fact looks like to you. So could you give an example of what you think is a particularly stable moral fact?
Killing babies is wrong.
And what does it mean to say that it's wrong?
It moves us away from the best of all possible worlds.
That is standing out. The statement is just that moving babies takes us away from the best of all possible worlds?
Yes.
And what does best mean there?
The world with the least imposition of will, or no imposition of will.
So killing babies leads us. So when you say killing babies is wrong, what that actually translates into is just killing babies takes us away from the possible world with the least imposition of will?
Yes.
I'm not understanding how that's incompatible with subjectivism. I agree with that.
Because it's true regardless of what you think. If you disagree, it's still true, so it wouldn't be subjectivism.
Do you agree that a non-cognitivist, a subjectivist, an error theorist could all agree with that proposition?
I'm not sure how, because if they agree with that proposition, that would mean the opinion of any individual person on it would be irrelevant, and so it wouldn't be a form of subjectivism. I don't know how they could possibly agree with that. I don't think a non-cognitivist wouldn't be able to agree with it because it is a statement that is meant to make morality comprehensible. And so if they were taking the non-cognitive position, they would have to say that that statement was incomprehensible.
Okay, so firstly, it's not like those views aren't all forms of subjectivism. Like subjectivism is its own view.
Right.
But what I guess I don't understand is why you think that, for example, let's just say an error theorist wouldn't be able to accept that proposition. Like, do you think that an error theorist doubts that if we avoid murdering babies, that's going to move us towards less imposition of will? Like, of course they're going to agree with that.
That's all the consequence of, if you accept my definition of morality is true, here are all the consequence, and all of them would accept that is the case. But the part they wouldn't accept is my definition of morality is true. That's the part that they would disagree with. They can't accept that proposition.
What's your definition of morality?
Any involuntary imposition of will is immoral, so essentially.
Wait, so I'm getting lost actually. So I'm not understanding how this is objectivism. So it sounds like, okay, let's just try to break it down and be super clear. So can you just walk me through this again? You say that a statement like murdering a baby is wrong actually just translates into a descriptive kind of statement, like murdering a baby takes us away from the world with the least imposition of will. Have I got you right so far?
Yeah, let me walk you through it again. So there is such a thing as a perfect triangle in our imaginations. We can imagine there is a perfect triangle which has exactly perfectly straight lines, and all of the angles always add up to 180 degrees. There is no existing.
Sorry, this stuff is not central to what's tripping me out. What's tripping me out is that when we take a sentence, like some kind of moral statement, like that it's wrong to murder babies, it seems like you're just translating that into a different statement, and no one would find that other statement controversial. So you're saying that you understand that an error theorist and a non-cognitivist and a subjectivist will all agree that what you take that proposition to mean can be objectively true, but they're just going to say that you think they're just going to tell you that you're misinterpreting what moral statements are about?
Sort of. So let me take it to a different example. So if I said...
Well, wait. Can I just ask you one step at a time so I understand where the disagreement is? So if we say the statement that avoiding murdering babies moves us to the possible world with the least imposition of will, you understand that that's a statement that a subjectivist and an error theorist and a non-cognitivist can all agree with, right?
Right. That's the consequence. So if we grant my premise that killing babies is wrong, then this would follow from that. Yes, but that's not the part they would disagree with. That's
Wait, what do you mean if we grant your premise that it's wrong? All you mean by it being wrong is that it's an imposition of will, right? They're not going to disagree with that. It just seems kind of trivial.
No,
Because I mean,
that's not
if
all
you,
I mean by it. That's a consequent of it. So
right,
let me
but
use
if
a
you,
different example.
okay,
If I
sure.
just define morality as the world with the most bananas, and if I define morality as the world with the most bananas, then anything we do to produce the most bananas is moral. I mean, obviously, the error theorists and the non-cognitivists and the subjectivists will all say, yes, we can understand that you've defined morality as the world with the most bananas, and if we do this thing, it produces the world with the most bananas. But they're going to reject the first claim that morality is the world with the most bananas. That's the part they disagree with. They say they're not going to grant that is true. They're just saying that's true for you. You believe that. Now, I'm saying
Okay.
that isn't the case. I'm saying this is true whether you like it or not. It's not just for me, it's also for you, whether you care, whether you believe it, whether you recognize it. It is true that the
Well,
world with the most bananas,
wait a second. But is the world with the most bananas thing equivalent to like your position saying the world with the least imposition of will is the
yes,
best possible world?
yes,
Right. But is that just, are those synonyms? Is the world with the least imposition of will and the best possible world, are those synonyms?
yes.
So it's just a tautology. Everyone's going to agree with the tautology. You're just saying A is A. I grant it. How does that refute subjectivism?
Right. That's just the consequent. That's not the justification. The justification of why
sorry, 1 second. When you say consequent, I take it that we're talking about an implication. P implies Q. What is P and what is Q?
Right. So if I say P, morality is any involuntary imposition of will is immoral, therefore Q, the best of all possible worlds, is a world with the least imposition of will.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
So
not the part of, that's not the point of the argument. That's just the consequent of the argument. So if we
wait, but
grant P, then Q. But the point of the argument, why it's objective, why I'm arguing this is the correct definition of morality, is I'm saying that just like Newton looked at the apple drop and he made an inference from induction to try and describe what this thing was causing the apple to drop. We see morality, we feel it intuitively, and we have moral progress. And when we plot these out like on a line graph, what does this point to? And what I'm arguing this points to is the best of all possible worlds with least imposition will. But that's the part that makes it objective, is when we plot out all the information we have, does that point to the best of all possible worlds?
So is the objective fact here that the best possible world is the world with the least imposition of will?
No, the objective fact is that the morality should or is defined as the best of all possible worlds with the least imposition of will.
So you just say morality means world with least imposition of will.
Yes.
Those are synonyms?
Yes.
Okay,
Because
so what you're
evidence.
saying is, well, wait, but this is a trivial position. This is silly. All you're saying is that the world with the least imposition of will is the world with the least imposition of will. I agree. I don't see how it's a critique of subjectivism.
Right. So going back to my banana example, now that's just my definition of morality. So I could just define morality as anything I wanted to.
Right,
I could
and
say
all you'd be
morality
saying is the world with the least bananas is the world with the least bananas, and everyone would agree.
Right.
It's just a tautology. It's
That's
trivial.
not the argument. The argument is, how did I get to that definition? So the point that makes it objective is, how did I get to that definition, and can other people also get to that same definition by some kind of a methodology? Like if we say, why is gravity objective? The reason gravity is objective is because there is this phenomenon that we can experience, and using a certain methodology of math, Newtonian or Einsteinian, we can all get to the same conclusion about what this thing is.
Okay, we need to be
That's why
really
it's objective.
we need to be really methodical and precise here, because I think that I'm not sure that anything is being said here really. It sounds like you're saying that the objective moral fact is that the best possible world is the world with the least imposition of will, right?
Yes.
And that just means the moral fact is that the world with the least imposition of will is the world with the least imposition of will, which is a tautology, which everyone will agree with. Yeah.
Yes, which is not the point of the argument. That is all a tautology. You're right. None of that is the argument.
Well, okay, so then the challenge would be what's the part I'm supposed to disagree with as a subjectivist?
Right. So again, going back to the Newtonian example, he could say gravity is the thing that
Wait,
makes stuff
but
fall.
Tom, instead of giving me an example, tell me what the example is supposed to establish. Then if we need it, you can give it. What are you trying, like, if you're saying that the objective fact is that the best possible world is the world with the most preference satisfaction or whatever it is, that's just saying, like, all that best possible world means to you is world with the most preference satisfaction. All you're saying is A equals A. So that's just a tautology. That's what anyone could accept with any view. So my question to you, if you want to give an example, totally fine. But what is the thing that you're saying is objective that a subjectivist is going to disagree with? Because you understand that is not something a subjectivist is going to disagree with, right?
Right. You're right.
Okay.
That is tautology. I totally agree with that. So you're confusing the conclusion with the methodology to get to the conclusion.
Wait, but
So,
tell me what is the objective fact, right? What's the objective thing that I'm supposed to disagree is objective as a subjectivist?
so the conclusion is objective, and you're supposed to disagree with, is the method that I use to get the conclusion actually indicative of what's the truth? So
Wait,
I think
what?
let me go with the example.
Wait, I need to understand that before you go into an example. I just want to understand what you mean. So
Well, yeah,
we both.
I think I need the example to try and explain that.
Okay, well, I'm willing to hear it out, but I just want to make sure we're clear what we're talking about right now. So you're, of course, if you're going to argue something that contradicts with subjectivism, some objectivism, it's supposed to conflict with subjectivism. There's got to be something, you would agree, right? That there's got to be something you're saying is objective that a subjectivist can't say is objective, right?
No. I mean, they could say anything is objective. I don't think that would contradict subjectivism. I think the point of the contradiction with subjectivism is that they could say it's not objective. If they can say it's not objective and be
Subjectivism
right,
entails not objective. So there's something that the objectivist is saying is objective and the subjectivist is saying is subjective, right? Can you guys hear me?
sorry about that. I lost connection there for a second.
That's okay, no worries.
I can hear everything.
All I'm trying to do is give framing. I'm not trying to avoid your example you want to give or any of this. I'm perfectly happy to hear it. I just want us to be clear about what the example is supposed to establish and whether that actually addresses the kind of question about objectivism and subjectivism and sort of establishes subjectivism as false. So you, as an objectivist, if you want to say that subjectivism is false, right, you have to be saying something is objective, that a subjectivist is going to disagree with you is objective, right? Something there. So what is that thing? Because it's not the moral fact that the best possible world is the world with the most preference satisfaction, because all that means is just a tautology.
All right, so let me try with my example just to try it. So if I said phlogiston is objective, and you could say, no, it's not. Phlogiston is false. It's really the expansion of particles or something. So there's some phenomenon we see. We see that when stuff heats up, it causes things to rise. And there's possible ways to explain this. Maybe it's the phlogiston particle. Maybe it's the expansion of atoms explanation. And we don't know. So right now, if I just picked one and said this one's objective, you could say, no, it's not. Clearly, it's no more or less supported than any of the other explanations. So the subjectivist could say, no, that one thing you just picked is no more supported than any of the other things we could just pick. And then if I can come back and say, no, here's the scientific evidence that actually indicates this one is better, then I have now proven this one's objective. It's true whether you like it or not. You can't just say it's just an arbitrary choice. It's an objective truth. You follow that so far?
To a degree, but I'm not seeing how it maps. What is the objective thing that you're talking about here? Because if it's just the claim that A equals A, that's not something anyone's going to disagree with.
Yeah, I gotta try and work out this. So there is something we observe, some event or phenomenon we observe, and I'm claiming there is an objective cause to that phenomenon. It is a thing. It's not.
Oh, wait. Okay, wait. Stop for a second. So the thing that's objective is the proposition that something causes X. That's going to be an objective fact, an objective moral fact.
No. So I'm saying morality is a real thing, like gravity or heat is a real thing. It exists. It's real, like a law of nature is real.
So I'm trying to understand when you say what is it exactly that you're saying is objective that a subjectivist is going to disagree with? That's my question.
Morality itself. Morality itself is a thing that exists, which is objective and cannot be subjectively rejected, whether you like it or not.
Okay, and what are you saying morality is exactly? Because the first
Again,
example, just for a second, the first example was this statement, which turned out. So we understand the first example isn't something that any subjectivist is going to disagree with. That's just a tautology; everyone can accept it. So now the thing that's being proposed as that being objective, that a subjectivist can't agree with, is morality itself. So I don't know exactly how you mean that. So now I'm wondering, what do you mean when you say morality?
All right, so let's suppose morality was actually a law of nature like gravity. Would that refute subjectivism? Because now you don't get to subjectively say it's a thing. It's a real thing in the universe, right? That would refute subjectivism, correct?
I'm not exactly sure I understand how you mean that. If morality, what would be the claim there that a subjectivist can't agree with?
So a subjectivist is someone who says morality isn't objective. It's not objectively true. It's subjectively true for
they're
each
going to say
individual.
a subjectivist is going to be committed to two propositions, that moral propositions are truth apt and that their truth value depends on the attitude of the subject they're indexed to.
Correct. So I'm saying the truth value of morality is dependent upon a law of nature, like gravity is a law of nature. It is a thing in the universe independent of anything else. So that would refute subjectivism because the truth value is determined by something in nature, like a particle or something.
So what, okay, all right, wait, let's think about that for a second. So, and what is the thing that you're saying is like that with morality?
Morality itself. I'm saying it's a real thing. It exists independent of our minds.
Right. So you'd be taking some conception where the first proposition for subjectivism is true, that moral statements are truth apt, and the second proposition that their truth value depends on the attitude of the subject they're indexed to is false.
Yes, that would depend on the law of nature is what makes them the truth value.
Okay, so now I guess what I want is to understand what law of nature tells me, like first of all, give me a moral proposition and then tell me, well, then we'll have to explore what it means, and then we'll have to see if it's true in virtue of some kind of a law of nature. So what moral proposition do we want to use?
Killing babies is wrong. I like that one.
Killing babies is wrong.
Can it be like something sexual, just to spice it up a bit?
No, I want
something that's more borderline.
Wait, but wait, now
bestiality.
Now we're back to the initial problem.
Oh no,
wait, if killing babies is moral, if all that means is killing babies moves us away from the possible world with the most preference satisfaction, that's not something a subjectivist is going to disagree with. So that can't be
right. So just going with the law of nature thing, killing babies is wrong is inconsistent with the description of the moral law as given to us by this law of nature.
Let's go with bestiality.
I thought you would want to say, I want to know
Tom's position on bestiality.
I thought you would want to say that killing babies being wrong is like consistent with this thing you're calling a law of nature.
It is a description of it.
What?
I guess I'm not sure if that would be different. So like when we say something is true, when a statement is true, that means it corresponds to reality. And so I'm saying the statement killing babies is wrong is true because it corresponds to this law of nature.
Well, it's true because all it translates into for you is that killing babies moves us away from the possible world with the least.
No, let's get away from the example. Let's just go with the law of nature thing. So,
well, wait a second. What we want with that proposition that you offered right there, we can't go like, what's that proposition true in virtue of when it's the tautology? Well, it's not necessary. It's very close to a tautology because a tautology is just going to be true in all possible worlds. What?
Right, that's why I'm going with the law of nature. Just stick with the law of nature. Forget the best of all possible worlds from now. When I say that killing babies is wrong, what I mean is that it corresponds to the law of nature, which is the moral law of nature. That's what it means, is that it corresponds to something in reality.
Well, yeah, any tautology is gonna, so when you say killing babies is wrong, all that means is that killing babies moves us towards the world with the least imposition on will.
No. Again, remember, forget the best of all possible worlds. Forget the imposition of will. We're only going to talk about.
But then we're back. Well, wait. But I need to understand what the sentence means in order to then talk about whether it's an instance of some law of nature or something, right? So if you're going to say the sentence doesn't just mean that killing babies moves us away from the world with the least imposition of will, then I need you to give another meaning for it. And then once we have a meaning for it, then we can proceed along to whether it's, got something to do with the law of nature. So what does
The
that
meaning
sentence
is that
mean?
it corresponds to the law of nature. So the meaning is purely that it corresponds to the law of nature. That's the only meaning it has.
Wait, but what does it mean to say that killing a baby is wrong? What does wrong mean there?
That's just the law. Well, the law of nature. It just corresponds to the law of nature. That's all.
Wrong. So killing the baby.
Not
Well, no,
correspond.
no. Wait. So the sentence means killing the baby is the law of nature. I mean, that
Yes.
can't. Well, so that doesn't sound like what anyone means by wrong. Like, what's a sentence like that even mean? Killing the babies is the law of nature. What's like? If you want to tell me what that means, go crazy.
I think I've lost you here. So I'm saying that morality can exist like gravity can exist.
Wait, but you're filibustering a little bit. What I want you to do, right? I've got a clear sentence on the table. We're trying to be precise. The sentence is killing babies is wrong. You want to talk about some law of nature, something. I'm all down to do that. But first I need to know what the sentence means. So I'm asking you what the word wrong means.
Immoral in this context.
Okay,
Sure.
What does the word immoral mean? Because all this is doing is, I think you're just begging the question for your view here. But what's immoral mean then? If wrong means immoral, then what's immoral mean? You can't like kind of conceal what it means forever, right? Conceal. Wait, 1 second. Conceal there isn't supposed to sound like you're doing something.
That's fine. I don't care. So I would say it does not correspond to the law of nature. That's what wrong means. If true and right means does correspond to the law of nature, wrong and immoral means does not correspond to the law of nature.
Okay. So the sentence killing a baby is wrong means killing a baby does not correspond to the law of nature.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then what's the law of nature?
That's the hypothetical I'm using to try and explain to you what objective morality means.
Well, yeah, all I need to understand is what the law of nature refers to, because I'm still trying to understand what the sentence killing a baby is wrong means to you. So I understand it means killing a baby is, I forget your exact wording, but it roughly means killing a baby is out of line with some law of nature or the law of nature or a law of nature, whatever you said. So I'm just wondering what that law of nature is. Well,
can we first agree that if there is a law of nature and this sentence can correspond to it, that would then refute subjectivism if this was all true? Does that
I'd have to even think about that for a second. It probably depends. It depends what the sentence means. So yeah, I think that I understand that you want to get it set up so that you can, get subjectivism if this works out. And I don't want to like deny that to you, but I can't actually tell you if it's going to refute subjectivism or not if I don't know what the words in the sentence mean.
So remember,
what's it mean to say
subjectivism only entails the two things that you suggested. The second one is that the truth value is entailed by the subject, essentially, right?
Yeah, the truth value, yeah.
So if the truth value is in anything else other than the subject, then it can't be subjectivism, right?
Yeah, if for some reason moral propositions are true, even if they don't accurately capture our attitudes, then that sounds like it's going to be objectivism. I mean, that sounds like you're getting rid of the second proposition in subjectivism.
Right. So if morality existed like gravity exists, subjectivism does not apply to gravity. You can't say subjective or gravity is true dependent upon the subject, because it's not. It is objectively true. So gravity refutes subjectivism. And so if a law of nature exists like gravity, which is the moral law, then it would also refute subjectivism in the same way gravity does.
Yeah, I'm inclined to say yes to that. Yeah. So what is the law of nature then?
That was the whole point of my using the law thing. So the same thing would apply to things like the triangle. Like if we draw a triangle on a piece of paper, the angles will add up to 180 degrees. That's true independent of the subject. You don't get an opinion on that. That would also refute subjectivism.
Right. But but 1 second. So what I want to understand though is what is this law?
So I don't actually believe there is a literal law like gravity. I think it's an abstract object like a triangle. So I'm trying to move from the example of the law to the abstract object and to show you that they can still be objective.
So wait, so by law you actually mean that it's an instantiation of an abstract object or something?
No, the law was just an example just to show you how you can refute subjectivism by making
Wait, no, but 1 second. So, okay, first let's just make sure that makes sense. So if moral propositions are going to be, if their truth value is going to be determined, if it's unaffected by the attitudes of subjects, then it's definitely the case that subjectivism is false. That's what you're saying there?
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's
okay.
one possible way to do that.
Wait. So 1 second. Okay, so we agree about that. So now let's go to the sentence, right? So killing babies is wrong, which means killing babies is immoral, which means killing babies is out of line with some kind of law of the universe, which means that killing babies is not an instantiation of some kind of abstract object. So what is this like law of the universe or abstract object that's concealed? Again, I don't mean the word badly, but that's concealed under all these layers of like different words.
Well, again, so that's the part of how do we get to the conclusion. So my point is just right now, I'm just trying to show you that. So here's an example of how we can get past subjectivism. We just need the moral statement to be true, independent of opinion.
Yeah, we agree that if one of
that,
yeah,
right, just work with me here. So one way to do that is if there is a law, if there is a physical part of the universe that determines the truth value, then it is true, independent of opinion. That's one way to get something to be true, independent of opinion. Now, there's another way to do it, and that's with abstract objects, like a triangle. If you draw a triangle, it will always add up to 180 degrees, the angles. That is also true, independent of opinion. But triangles don't exist. They're not a part of the universe, but they can still be true, independent of opinion. So triangles also refute subjectivism. Are you with me so far?
I don't know about the statement triangles refute subjectivism because I'm not convinced abstract objects exist. But if you want to, but what I have to say though, I'm finding it like mildly frustrating that you're moving away from the question, right? So the question.
No, I'm moving towards the question because your question is missing the point. You're missing the point completely. So I've got to walk you there step by step.
Wait a second. No, you don't get to just declare I'm missing the point if I start a line of questioning that you have trouble with. So the line of questioning that we were on before you moved, right, was we asked, what does the sentence killing a baby is wrong mean? It means killing a baby is immoral. What does killing a baby is immoral means? It means killing a baby is out of line with some kind of law of the universe. What does killing a baby is out of line with some kind of law of the universe mean? It means killing a baby isn't an instantiation of some kind of abstract object. So I'm asking you what you think you're saying there. What do you mean by law of nature or abstract object? What is the abstract object? What is the law of nature?
Again, so let me try to explain this again. So
no, wait, Tom, I have to say, I'd lose interest completely if someone tries to dodge a line of questioning. Do you want to answer
dodging anything? You're questioning.
Okay.
What is the question, Isaac?
Well, wait. Yeah. So the question
what is the question?
What's the law of nature?
Can you
rephrase
it?
Gravity is gravity. That's a dumb question.
No, you can give a mathematical description of gravity. What's the law of nature you're referring to? And if you want to take time to think it through, and we can do like a round 2, like I'm easily reachable. You can also find me in the Discord.
What I'm not sure that I understand your question, Isaac. What are you saying? What is the moral law of nature? What exactly are you specifically saying?
So you're gonna have to track your way through these sentences. Okay, Adam. So here we go. So he says that it is killing a baby is wrong. Okay. What does that mean? What does it mean to say killing a baby is wrong? It means killing a baby is immoral. Still don't really know what that means.
Yeah,
so I asked,
exactly.
What does it mean? Right. Okay, good. So I asked, what does it mean to say it's immoral? He says, well, it means killing a baby is out of line with some kind of law of nature.
Okay.
Right. So I'm asking about what that law of nature is.
And
he didn't say something further about.
You're asking for a mathematical description of that law of nature.
No, it
in the
doesn't
same way that
you
would describe. Well, gravity you could describe. You'd say masses are attracted to one another.
But I don't want you to make it seem like I'm setting some kind of unfair bar. Like
no,
mathematical
I don't think you are.
Sounds kind of like. I mean, I'm not expecting him to start delivering like the moral algebra. I just want to I just want to understand what the sentence means.
But
right?
if we say what is
Adam,
the law of gravity?
Can you just wait? Just hear me out for 1 second, because I want to make sure you understand the point here. So I'm trying to understand what, on Tom's view, the sentence killing a baby is wrong means. It means killing a baby is immoral. Still don't know what that means. It means killing a baby is out of line with some kind of law of nature. Okay, but what's the law of nature? So I'm waiting for him to answer that so that I can make sense of the original statement that killing a baby is wrong.
I agree. What's the law of nature,
So
Tom?
if you asked Isaac Newton, what is gravity, and he gives you the equation, that doesn't tell you what gravity is. It just is a description of gravity, right?
I would disagree. I would say that the description is telling you what it is. Yeah. And you don't
okay,
think?
so
Wait. I have a question. Surely a description is telling you what something is.
Yeah,
That's
that's the
literally
whole point
what
of a
is.
description.
No, because Newton never said what gravity was
Okay,
at
well,
all.
if you want to take a fringe view on description,
No, this
where
isn't a fringe
description
view at
doesn't-
all. Newton, nothing in
you
Newtonian
don't think
mechanics.
it's a fringe view on description to say that descriptions don't tell you what things are?
Oh my god!
Are
It's
you
just- it's a
honest? Are
fact.
you honestly
No,
going to tell me
just-
that's not a fringe
stop,
view on
stop,
description?
stop,
You
stop,
know
stop,
that's
stop,
a
stop.
fringe view. That's silly.
Newtonian mechanics describes gravity. It tells you nothing about what gravity is. It doesn't even try to. I mean, does that not make sense to you?
Okay, so there's two things that are standing out to me. So the first is that it's crazy that you're not conceding that this is a radically idiosyncratic view on description. Okay, everyone understands a description to be some kind of to be telling you what something is. I mean, you must have a radical understanding of description. And then the other point, because that's just a side point. That's almost just a tangent based on you saying one sentence that I had trouble with. Right. The main point is that we have this sentence. Killing a baby is wrong. I ask you what it means. It means killing a baby is immoral. I ask you what that means. It means it's out of line with some kind of law of nature. I ask you what that law of nature is, and you can't tell me. So if you have an answer to that question, I'm happy to continue. If you can't, I think that's the debate.
So first thing, you're confusing epistemology and ontology. Descriptions do
dodging.
not tell you ontology. It doesn't happen. So just that was the
Wait,
first
no,
point.
I want any kind of description at all of what you're talking about. I just want you to tell me something, give me anything, give me a synonym or something. Just let me know what you mean by law of nature. You're trying to say right now that you don't have to give me any explanation of what that means?
Law of natures or laws of nature. I don't know what exactly you're asking. Like, I can describe the law of nature. I can describe how it operates. So saying any involuntary position of will is immoral, that describes the law, just like Newtonian mechanics describes gravity. Like, I can give you parallels one for one there. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just asking. Yeah, I'm just asking what the law is. So
okay, if I ask you what is gravity, how would you answer?
Oh, I'm not a physicist, but they'll give you some kind of equations that describe like how, bodies move towards each other based on size or something.
All right, so if that's what you want, I can give you the same thing, and I can say the law of nature is that killing babies is wrong. Killing babies is bad.
Wait, but
the
what
law
is that?
Is the description?
Yeah, but wait, so are you just saying that killing babies is bad means killing babies is bad? Because then you're just back to a tautology.
No. I'm saying killing babies is bad does not correspond to the law, because the law specifically says killing babies is bad.
Wait, but if the law is just the proposition killing babies is bad, okay, so when you say killing babies is not corresponding to some kind of law, you're just saying that there is somehow some law out there that says killing babies is bad. Okay, that's just what I take it to mean to say killing babies is not in correspondence with some law. What's the law?
That is the law. That's like gravity. What is gravity? Gravity
so you're saying so your claim is that killing babies is out of line with the law, that you shouldn't kill babies?
No, I'm saying killing babies is a thing that exists like gravity. It is in the universe. It exists.
Yeah, killing babies exists. Yep, I agree that killing babies exists.
No, the law that says killing babies is a thing that exists like gravity.
What do you mean the law? What do you mean by the law?
Exactly what I mean when I say gravity.
No. You don't get to make any random descriptive statement and say it's an instantiation of a law, right? If I say like my speaker makes noise, right? It's not like that's a law. Like, what law are you talking about?
How come we can describe gravity that exists, but we can't describe this moral law that exists?
I don't want to dogpile him. We can.
This is my channel. We can dogpile Tom. Come on.
Well, I mean, look, he's. Yeah.
So I'm saying morality is like any other law of nature. It is a law of nature, like gravity is a law of nature.
But you can't describe it.
Right. So wait. But he's just saying, he's saying that there is a law that killing babies is wrong. But I just don't know what you mean by a law. Like when we talk about a law of physics or of nature, we're talking about some kind of like regularity that's always observed, like that bodies like move together, right, based on their mass or something like this. So what's your statement? What do you mean when you say it's a law? What's the law supposed to be?
Regularities that are commonly observed.
What's the regularity?
The answers we give to the moral intuition and ethical problems in every problem of ethics.
So is the statement that killing babies is out of line with some law just a statement that killing babies is something that people generally don't approve of?
No, the law is a thing. So we observe the law. The law exists, and it's
What
describing the
is
law. We just
okay?
get an impression of it.
That's what I'm questioning. What does it mean? Like, what? First of all, what is the law, right? And then I'm also asking. So if your answer about what the law is just that it's some kind of regularity that we observe, right? Some kind of unviolated regularity, kind of like a law of physics, right? Is that what you're saying?
Something like that, yes.
Okay, then what is the regularity?
So if I say the law of physics, like gravity, is a regularity, and we can say that is F equals ma, then I would say the law of morality is a regularity, and that's described by don't kill babies.
Wait, no, but when you say that it's a regularity, right? What is the regularity? That people think it's wrong to kill babies? I'll agree that's pretty regular. That's just not going to be something subjectivists will disagree with, because you have a trivial position here. You're not really saying anything. You're just making trivial descriptive
I'm not sure
statements.
what you're not understanding about this. So
well, Tom, you're just making trivial descriptive statements that someone with any meta ethic can agree with.
No, I'm not. You're misunderstanding the point. So we see,
okay, well,
because my analogy examples fit one to one.
I don't care. I don't care about the analogies and examples. I care about if you can answer the question.
Your question makes no sense, because like, how would you answer that in the terms of gravity? I'm saying that my statement of morality is equally as objective as gravity is objective. So if you give
but it's not even clear what you're it's not clear what you're saying. You're saying that killing babies is not in line with some kind of regularity, right? What is the thing that's regular there? Our evaluation of it to be like inappropriate? Like, what's the thing that what is the regularity you're talking about?
So I'm not sure what you're asking. So
you're saying that killing babies is an instance of some kind of regularity, right? Like if we say an apple falling is an instance of gravity, we say it's an instance of that. Like, I mean, again, this is a little out of my wheelhouse, but if we say that's an instance of gravity, we're going to say that's an instance that falls within this kind of I guess, do we want it like call it like a mathematical description that it describes like how events occur, right? So let me see if I can make that clear.
Okay, I got. Let me see if I can take it there.
No, wait. Let's not go off something vague. Let's.
I want to answer your question.
Right, but let's be clear about what we're saying first. So, what you asked was if we're talking about some kind of instance of a law of gravity, what does it mean for it to be an instance of a law of gravity? I think it just means that the objects in question are operating.
You said an apple falling, right?
Well, wait, yeah. That the object in question could be an apple, a tennis ball, whatever. We just say the.
That's great. I'm going to go with that. So I can say just
wait. Let me answer.
I don't want to lose my train of thought.
Let me clarify that the objects in question are operating in line with the kind of mathematical descriptions we have.
Right. So I would say that when we have a moral intuition to moral progress, we see that like the apple falling. Those are instances of instantiations of the law.
Wait, but when you say it's an instantiation of the law that what, right? If it's gravity, it's the law that like objects with a certain mass will like attract. If there's anyone who knows physics watching, and I'm doing an embarrassing job with gravity, forgive me, but I'm sure we all understand that gravity is some kind of like description of like objects and their like, properties and what they do and how they move together or whatnot, right? So yeah, we're going to say that the apple falling is an instance of that, right? Now, what is the baby being killed an instance of? It can't be that it's an instance of wrongness, because if it's wrongness, then all you're saying is this trivial claim that it's an instance of something that doesn't move us towards the best or the world with the least preference violation, which everyone will agree with. So what's it an instance of?
So how would you answer that question for the gravity example? If I say we see the apple falling.
Yeah, I just did that, right? So we can go through it again. So when we're going to say that that's an instance of matter behaving in accordance with some kind of mathematical description we have.
So what you just said is the tautology is circular. You're just saying we have.
How's it circular? Wait, how is it circular?
Because you just said that we have a description of something that we see, and we're describing it. That's all you said.
What's the circle?
So we have a description of a mathematical description, and the apple falling is.
Don't just try to tell me random things are circular because I pointed out something you're saying is circular. What is circular about what I'm saying at all?
You're interrupting me every time. Stop interrupting me. so I can answer your question because
Yeah.
my
What
God.
is what
So
is
Hey
it
guys,
see
one
an
at a
apple
time.
falling.
You
We
want me
give
to
a
do
description.
time? Tom, go ahead. You have the
Would you
floor.
stop interrupting? Holy shit! I've tried to answer this 4 times and you guys keep interrupting. Shut up, please.
You have a minute.
So
Go ahead.
if you, oh my God. So we see the apple falling, and we have mathematical descriptions of how the apple falls, and you're saying the apple falling is an instantiation of the descriptions. That's a circle.
How's that a circle?
Don't interrupt. Let him continue.
Well, that was the end, so that was fine. So if we have descriptions, and we see an instantiation, and that instantiation is of the descriptions, that's literally a circle.
What's the circle about that?
If P then Q, Q then P, like what?
Where are the propositions P and Q? What are you talking about?
So we have an object falling.
And wait, saying if P then Q and if Q then P is just a biconditional implication. That's not a circle.
So no, that is exactly a circle.
Well, wait. Are you familiar? Are you competent with propositional logic? Well, let's be clear.
Yes, I am. Yes,
right,
I'm extremely competent. So could you?
Okay, so when is the biconditional true?
So let's just go back to these.
No. Wait. If you say you're competent, if you are, you'll answer this. When is the biconditional true?
When is the biconditional true?
Explain.
It's a circle.
Can you explain it, Isaac, for the audience?
Wait. No. I think that Tom is pretending to know what he's talking about.
Okay,
when is the biconditional? Don't Google it. When is the biconditional true?
When is the biconditional true of your circle? It's a circle.
No. When is the biconditional operator in propositional logic true? I see you looking at something. Are you Googling? Yeah, so then don't say you're competent with it.
So let us know, Isaac, for the audience, so we can all be in on it.
Yeah, so the biconditional is true when P and Q are true. It's false when P is true and Q is false. It's false when P is false and Q is true. And it's true when P and Q are both false.
Well, that was absolutely no help at all. But anyway, continuing.
Well, the takeaway is that it has a precise mathematical definition within propositional logic, which Tom just pretended to know.
Okay, I got you.
So going back to your dumbass example, let's go back. So you said the apple falling is an instantiation of the law. So I have a law, killing babies is wrong. And when we see babies being killed, that is an instantiation of the law, killing babies is wrong. They're the exact same thing. There's a parallel between the two examples of gravity and morality. One for one, exactly the same.
So wait. But I want the circle thing explained, unless you want to drop that claim. Where's the circle? Right? You said that if P then Q and if Q then P is a circle, that's not a circle, that's a biconditional implication, which you pretended to know about, yet you don't know what you're talking about. And you couldn't even describe when the biconditional is true. So what do you think you mean when you say I'm arguing in a circle, or would you like to retract that claim?
Oh, I'd like to retract that claim because that was your dumbass claim. You claimed my argument was circular.
I claimed that I'm arguing. Yes. No. The thing
you claimed my argument was circular, and I'm making the same argument you just made.
Wait a second. So your argument is tautological if what you're saying is ultimately just A is A, right? If it turns out that you're just saying something like the world with the most preference maximization is the world with the most preference maximization, that's a tautology, right? And if you're saying something that's close to that, like killing babies takes us away from the world with the most preference maximization, then that's, I wouldn't say a tautology, but it's like trivial, something that everyone will agree with. So just going back to the main question, right? Killing babies is wrong. What does it mean to say it's wrong? It means that it's immoral. What does it mean to say that it's immoral? It means that it's some kind of, it's like a disinstantiation of some law of nature. So now I'm asking you, what is the law? What's the law that's being instantiated? Now you tried to ask me about physics as if there's some kind of as if a physicist is not going to tell you what law is being instantiated at any particular moment. A physicist is going to tell you that matter is behaving in line with some kind of mathematical description. It's the mathematical description that's being instantiated by the matter. What is the thing that's being instantiated by not killing a baby or by killing a baby, whichever you choose?
Right, and every time I give you that answer, you say it's circular, just like I
claimed
you were
What you say is that it's an instantiation of some law. And I'm asking you, what is the law that's being instantiated? What are you talking about?
And I've given you the answer multiple times.
Oh, well, I have. I'm sorry. Well, I didn't hear an answer. Adam, did you hear an answer to what law is being instantiated?
Yes.
I have not heard an answer yet.
So let's go back and let's answer the question again. So I said, what's an instantiation of gravity? You said the apple falling. And so when I gave the example of what's an instantiation of immorality, I said killing a baby. Those are the exact same thing. You said my
Yeah,
example was circular, but you complained when I claimed your example was circular.
so the distinction,
Same. They are the
so the
exact same.
distinction,
One at a time,
wait.
guys.
So first of all, the term circular, I don't know if I may have said circular instead of like tautological, right? So tautologies and circular reasoning are not the same thing, just to be clear. Tautology is just the opposite of contradiction. It's something that's going to be true in all possible worlds. So like modus ponens is a tautology. If P, then Q. P, therefore Q, that's a tautology, right? A equals A, that's a tautology. So there's a distinction between a tautology and a circle, right? And I objected to your claim that I'm arguing in a circle. I also don't think that saying that physical matter is operating in accordance with some kind of law is a tautology. And I'm curious, when you try to compare it to gravity as if there's an equivalence here, the thing that's not equivalent is that in the case of gravity, they can tell you the thing that's being instantiated, which is this mathematical description. What is the thing that you're saying is being instantiated?
Yeah, it's a simple question.
A mathematical description is an abstract description. So what if I say killing babies?
Oh no, there's a disturbance in the forest.
I'm sure he'll be back, but it's just I'm completely lost as to what he thinks is being instantiated.
Well, yeah, within the physics example, there is a clear framework that we can define mathematically, but he's not saying what the framework is for the baby thing. I have an answer. I think we argued about it on our stream, but obviously Tom is not going to go to my answer because. But I mean, I appreciate you grilling him on this.
No idea why it keeps happening.
It's funny. You've actually opened up a separate account now, so we can still see an empty TJump here.
All right, 1 second.
Also, since you left it for a moment, I noticed that I have become a little heated. So I'm sorry if I got frustrated with you. Let's try to figure this out. So you say that killing a baby is wrong. That means killing a baby is immoral, which just means killing a baby is not an instantiation of some kind of law. Okay, I'm asking you what that law is. You try to draw a parallel to physics to suggest that you don't have to give a description of the law. You also have a radical view on description that we won't get into. And I tell you, okay, well, in physics, they're telling you that it's an instantiation of this kind of mathematical description of how matter is supposed to operate. So I'm asking you.
Hold on. He's not back yet. So
come back. What?
Okay.
So, I was saying, you said that.
Wait, but you're just trying to take the lead now. I want to. So what I'm asking. Well, wait, but I
hold on one at a time, guys. Go ahead.
So, right. So what I was asking you was just, what is the law that's being instantiated?
Yeah. So when I asked you what is the law when we're talking about gravity, you said it's a description, a mathematical description. So I have a mathematical description, and that's what gravity is. And so I can say killing babies is wrong is equivalent to the mathematical description. It's describing the law.
Wait, no. So when we say that an apple is falling, we just mean that it is described by our mathematical equations. What is the thing that killing a baby is described by? What's the law that's an instantiation of? Right? A physicist could say the apple is an instantiation of the law of gravity and give you some kind of equations about the law of gravity, right? So I'm asking you to tell me what the baby being killed is an instantiation of and give me some kind of like description of it so I understand what it means. Just saying an instantiation of the moral law is pretty vacuous. I don't know what that means. What do you mean by moral
law? Those
law?
literally mean the same thing. They're equivalent in description. So the description given
what two things mean the same thing?
The mathematical equation describing gravity is exactly equivalent as a description as the description that when we say killing babies is wrong is exactly a description of the moral law. Those are exactly equivalent examples.
So wait, the baby being killed is supposed to be an instantiation of a law. The apple falling is supposed to be an instantiation of the law. The apple falling is the instantiation of the law of gravity. We can give some kind of description of what that is mathematically. The baby being killed is some kind of instantiation of a law of morality, right? And I'm asking, what is that law of morality? Just like we could ask, what is that law of gravity? And you could give some kind of mathematical description. What is that law of morality?
So the sentence, when we say killing babies is wrong, is a description of that instantiation, just like the sentence in math, F equals ma, is a description of the apple falling.
Wait, so let's keep the analogy tight. When the apple falls, it's an instantiation of gravity. Gravity can be described by some kind of mathematical equation. When the baby is killed, it's an instantiation of some kind of law of morality. That law can be described as, and then you fill in the blank.
The sentence, killing babies is wrong.
So killing babies is wrong is an instantiation of the law that killing babies is wrong?
No. The baby being killed is the instantiation. So the baby being killed is like the apple falling. There's a physical event
Yes.
occurring.
Yep. That's the analogy. Yep.
Then we have a description of the physical event, which is a mathematical symbols F equals ma. This is just a
Wait, no, wait 1 second. So the event is the baby fall, or the apple falling, the apple being stabbed, or the baby falling. Okay,
Yes.
That's a joke. I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the event, right? And the event is supposed to be an instantiation of some kind of law, right? So
Yes.
in the case of physics, we'll say it's the law of gravity, and in the case of morality, we'll say it's the law of morality. We're agreeing so far?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Now gravity can actually be described, right? You can give some kind of mathematical equation, right? Other than just saying gravity is this apple falling. If the only example we had was the apple falling, it would be completely unclear what it means to say the apple falling is an example of gravity if gravity just means the apple falling. So I'm asking you to give me some description of what the moral law is that isn't just saying the moral law, or that isn't just saying the thing that the baby getting stabbed is an instantiation of.
Oh, so you want like a more general example? Okay, so the F equals
no,
ma
not an example.
describes...
not an example. I want
No,
some
I
kind of description.
I understand. So F equals ma is a general description of the phenomenon causing the apple to fall, and any involuntary imposition of will is a general description of immorality describing the baby being killed.
Right, but I don't know what you mean when you say it's an instantiation of morality, right? So I'm trying to get you to track me through this. So we say that the event is an instantiation of some kind of law, and then we give a description of that law. Okay, so the apple falling is an instantiation of gravity. Gravity, let's describe it with what? Force equals mass times acceleration. Again, if I'm butchering the physics, I'm sorry to anyone who knows the physics. Now, in the case of the baby being stabbed is an instantiation of the law of morality, and the description of the law of morality is
any involuntary imposition of will.
Yeah. So right. So if all you're saying is the trivial claim that the baby being stabbed is an instantiation of the involuntary imposition of will, no one's going to disagree with that. A subjectivist is going to agree with that. I don't see how that conflicts with subjectivism.
Remember, the gravity claim defeats subjectivism, and my claim is exactly the same as the gravity claim. So we have three parts. We have there's a law.
Do you think wait? Do you think that a subjectivist is going to disagree that a baby being stabbed is an instantiation of like will of what did you say? It's an instantiation of preferences not being maximized, or yeah. Do you think that a subjectivist is going to disagree with that statement?
No, they're going to disagree that it's a law, that it exists independent, and its truth value is independent of subjectivism.
Wait. When you say that it's a law, they're not going to if all you mean by it's a law is that it's an instance of an involuntary imposition of will, they're not going to disagree with that.
No, that's not what I mean by it at all. So again,
okay,
you have
well
to
then what do you mean by it?
Like you would for the gravity example.
Well,
so
no. What do you mean then by law?
Exactly the same as what we mean in the law of gravity. So we have three things in the example.
Right. We've been through this. The gravity, what we mean is there's some kind of mathematical description of how matter behaves, right? And we say that the apple falling is an example of that. So what you're saying is that the baby being stabbed is an example of an involuntary imposition of will, right?
So the involuntary imposition of will is the mathematic. That's the F equals ma. Those are the same thing.
Right. So is anything that is anything that is an instantiation of any other thing a law in your view?
No, it's only a law if there's something in reality causing it to be an instantiation of that thing.
So when you say that
there's three parts of this analogy. The first is there is a law of nature that exists in the universe. The second is there's things that happen because of this law in reality.
Wait, but what do you think you mean by law of nature then?
Exactly the same as what I mean in the gravity law. There is a thing that exists in the universe which is this thing.
Well, wait, with gravity, I thought we meant that this is just a description of how matter behaves.
Okay, so gravity is the bending of space-time. It is a physical thing that exists in the universe, and we describe the bending of space-time with equations, usually Einstein's general relativity, but Newton's is close enough, so we can just use that as part of the example. So there is a thing in the universe that exists, which is gravity. It is the physical bending of space-time. It exists. It is a real thing, just like you and me, it exists. And then this thing causes other things, like the apple falling.
So
instantiation of the gravity. And then we have a description of what that is, which is the math. The math describes the space-time. The space-time exists independently. The math doesn't care about the space-time. The math is just describing the space-time.
So what is the law then?
the law is the thing that exists. It's the bending of space time.
Yeah, but in the moral case, what is the law?
It's a law like gravity. It's a thing that I'm claiming exists in the universe like gravity does.
Yeah, but you're not describing it. What is it?
So the description is like the F equals ma, and the description of this law would be any involuntary imposition of will. That's the description of it.
But that's just any involuntary imposition of will. That's not even like a proposition. That's just a noun, like involuntary, or as well, it's got, obviously an adjective in there, but that's just some when you say the involuntary imposition of will, that's just a thing. Like, I mean, are we going to say that like computer is a law?
It's describing what the law does. It's a description of what the law instantiates. So it's like the F equals ma describes what gravity does.
But with gravity, the law is something, it's like a proposition. It's like, can we just get a proper description so I can stop butchering what gravity is? What is it that objects of some kind of mass like move together or something like that?
No, gravity is the curvature of space-time.
Wait, 1 second. So no, 1 second. Let's just.
That's like
objects of mass attract. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
it's nature.
Yeah. So some kind of, so it's easy for me to make sense of once we get it as a proposition, right? So gravity is like, if we want to say it's the proposition that like, some proposition about how objects like move together based on their mass or something like that, then I'd understand that. But
matter attracts matter.
Right. But if you just said the law is matter, I'd be like, wait, but that's not a statement about how things happen. That's just, you're just saying like a thing, right? That's like a noun. So what is the law supposed to be? Because if you tell me the law is just like shoe, I'm not going to really know what you mean, right? If you say the law is just involuntary imposition of will, like I don't know what it means to say that's a law, right? Gravity, you get some kind of proposition about objects like moving together. So what's like, make it into a proposition instead of just a noun.
Something like, so involuntary impositions of will means one thing is interacting with another because it's an involuntary imposition. So that's like the two objects attract. Those, I don't see why you don't see a connection between those two things.
Well, involuntary imposition of will is just a thing, right? It's like the involuntary part is an adjective, but it's just an adjective and a noun, right? So it's not like a proposition. So if we say,
all right, let me try. So
if I say
object B. One at a time, guys.
1 second. If I say like flying lotus or something, right? Like that's not a law. That's just a noun with an adjective.
Right.
So
right.
if you say involuntary, so surely you'd agree that you have to modify away from saying the law is involuntary imposition on will, right? Because that's just got some noun and like an adjective. We want some kind of proposition.
The law would be anything that imposes on someone else's will.
That's also just like a noun. That's just like saying the law is tiger.
It's like saying two objects attract. So it would be one object imposes on another object.
Wait, it wasn't a proposition though. That was a proposition. You're equivocating between things that are and aren't propositions. If it's a proposition, I'll be able to make sense of it. Could you make it into a proposition?
Proposition 1, two objects attract. Proposition morality proposition, one object imposes on another object.
Okay, one object. So the law is that one object imposes on another object.
Yeah, imposes involuntary restrictions of will. Yes.
Yeah. So I would agree that objects impose involuntary restrictions on each other. Like if I'm an object and you're an object, and I like involuntarily do something to you. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would just be the description, just like the saying gravity objects attract. This one would be morality. One object involuntarily imposes on another object. That would be the description of the law.
Yeah, if the law is just some like trivial kind of descriptive thing, like that impositions of will occur or something, like no one's going to disagree with that. It seems like a trivial position.
So how is that any more or less trivial than saying objects attract?
Well, I mean, I think that the reason we'd say the gravity stuff is less trivial is because we have the math and we can, make a bunch of sense of a lot of things out of it. But the thing that makes me want to call this trivial particularly is that it's something that anyone with any ethic can agree with. Like you're putting this forward as a version of realism. And I don't want to be the realism police. Like if you want to just say this is some like hyper minimal kind of realism, like, okay, that's fine. But it's just the thing that's trivial is just like you're making a claim that no one's going to disagree with. Everyone's going to agree that there are impositions of will. An error theorist is going to agree, a subjectivist is going to agree. So I just don't see like what the challenge to subjectivism is supposed to be.
Well, remember, everyone's going to agree that we see objects fall. The claim is that there's one description that is right and all the other descriptions that are wrong. F equals ma is right, and the other ones are wrong. So I'm saying that my description is right, and the other ones are wrong.
Yeah, I think that anyone with any moral theory is going to be able to say that it's an accurate description of reality to say that there are involuntary impositions of will. I don't see how that's a problem for subjectivism.
The point is like which one is the right description of that thing. So yes, I agree.
Description of what thing? Sorry, you lost me. Description of what thing?
So we see the phenomenon. We see apples falling. We see impositions of will. They occur.
Right.
Now we're going to give a description of those things. Which description is the objective correct description that defines them?
It's a correct description of an imposition of will to call it an imposition of will. Do you think that there's
No, I'm saying there's lots of different ways to describe this. There's lots of different ways to describe this occurring. You could say
right.
It's
and multiple ways can be correct, right? So if we talk about me walking, we could talk about, my shirt is moving from point A to point B, or like my feet are moving from point A to point B. There's like a bunch of things that are of descriptive statements we can make that are true there.
That's where the disagreement is. I'm saying no, there cannot be multiple correct ways. There can only be one correct way. Like there can only be one correct way to describe gravity.
Wait a second, but you're saying the only correct way to describe the stabbing of a baby is that it's an instance of an involuntary imposition of will?
Sort of. So there's only one.
Because why could I not say it's an infant of a child being made to suffer or something like this? There's other things you could say about that. I don't see why there'd only be
saying the same thing in a different way. That would be a tautology or in a class.
Wait. What would be a tautology?
So tautology has a different meaning when you use the classical sense. There's the philosophical sense where it just means a statement that's true no matter what happens in the previous part of the statement. But in a classical sense, if you just Googled the definition of the word tautology, it means saying the same thing twice. So
what do you think? What do you think I'm saying twice?
If I say a baby is being stabbed, which is an involuntary imposition, and you say what did you say? Something about it.
I just pointed out that there's other descriptive statements we could obviously make about that.
Right. So that would just be saying the same thing. So in the case of what I'm arguing is
why would it be saying the same thing as what? Okay, so if I say that's a child being made to suffer, what is that the same as saying?
That it's an involuntary imposition of will. Those would be like
those are not synonymous. One is saying that the child is suffering. The other is saying that their will is being imposed on.
Okay, if you wanted to classify those as different, the moral
I could also
one would
say
only be mine.
I could also say it's a child having its skin pierced with a piece of steel, or I could say it's an instance of like, atoms of like this element entering atoms, a cluster of atoms of this element. There's a ton of descriptive statements I can make about that. It would be insane. It would be insane to say only one descriptive statement is possible here. That's ludicrous.
Only one descriptive statement corresponds to the moral law.
Okay, and the moral law is just that there are involuntary impositions of will?
No, the moral law is a thing like gravity exists. It's like the beginning of space-time. It's
right,
part of
but
reality.
We need to be clear about it. What is the moral law, right? I thought the moral law, you said, could be described as, first you tried to describe it as just like a noun and an adjective, or you're like involuntary impositions of will.
All of my descriptions were the same. I just want to clarify this. All of my descriptions were the same. When I say involuntary imposition of will,
they simply were not. They simply were not. No. There is a huge distinction between a proposition and something that's not a proposition.
This. Can you please stop so I can
there is a distinction. There is a distinction.
All right, guys. One at a time. Break it up. Break this up. Come on, guys.
This is just
silence.
Logic 101. This is just Logic 101. A proposition, not there's a difference between things that are and aren't propositions. No, not till you grant this. There's a distinction between a combination of like a noun and a verb, or a noun and an adjective, and a proposition. Do you understand that?
No, I'm not even going to grant your position. No, go away. So
wait. Oh,
now,
wait. So wait.
as
You
I'm
want?
going
Okay,
to
wait. But
explain
you're taking a radical view on logic and linguistics if you say that.
No,
You
I'm
think
not
that-
even addressing your question. I'm just saying I don't give a shit about what you're saying. I'm just
Oh,
saying,
wait.
no,
Well, wait.
let me
No.
explain my
Wait.
position.
I warned you at the start. When people do that, I'm done with the debate. You
That's
can answer
too-
the question if you want to
that's too
continue.
ad
Be done,
hominem.
because I'm not going to let you
That's
straw man
too-
my position.
Wait,
I have
hey,
to explain my position.
Don't
Okay.
leave
All
yet.
right. Yeah.
'Cause
No.
we have a bunch of
if you
questions.
don't
Maybe
want
we can
to-
move on.
It was so I'll just right. So I guess if he wants to not answer the question,
guys. Look, it's Dave Rubin. Guys.
Well, wait a second.
Guys.
If you want to not answer the question, that's fine. But you're taking a radical view.
No, I want to answer the question, but I need to accurately represent my position.
No. Well,
first.
then you need to acknowledge
You are misrepresenting my
there's
position.
a distinction. There's a distinction between.
One
There's a distinction between a noun and a
one at a time. Let's just
no. There's a
Let me
distinction.
hold on, Tom.
There is a distinction.
Isaac, you have
between
You've
one
already
minute.
said this.
Isaac.
You've already said
Right.
this.
And
Why
do
are
you
you
agree?
repeating yourself?
Because
I
I'm
let
looking
you
for a
speak.
concession.
Now stop
'Cause I'm
speaking.
no. I want an answer.
Stop speaking.
Is
Yeah,
I'll give
everyone
you
stop
after I get
speaking.
to accurately represent my position.
I want you to begin.
I'm not going to address
with an
your
answer.
position because you're
I
misrepresenting
want
mine.
you to
I'm done with you. I'm
begin
done
with
with you
an
until you
answer.
shut up and let me
Right.
speak.
Hey,
I want
I
you
got
to
like
begin
20
with an
questions
answer.
here,
until you
guys.
stop.
So
I
we
want-
have to
right,
we have to
so
we have to
if
like
you-
just take a
if
second
you-
here. Let's
right,
all
so
count to 10.
If you're unable
If
to
you're
answer
not
the
going to let
question,
me
we can end the
represent
debate
my
there.
position,
That's
I'm
fine.
not going to speak with you.
Right.
I'm going to
No,
address your
what-
position.
Yeah, we're going
after
to
I
address
accurately
things
represent my position. So
systematically.
if you're going to be a filibuster and not let me
And
say
what
my
we
position,
want
You're
to
both
know-
filibustering.
what we
Just
want to
silence,
know-
please.
No. I'm trying to get an
Silence.
answer to a question. The question.
No, I let him
is,
ask.
Do you
I let him speak, and
understand
then I said
that
stop.
there is a distinction between a
I'm not going to
proposition?
address your question.
Silence.
Right, because
Silence.
you know,
Silence.
because you know, just like when you pretended
All
to
right,
understand
I'm gonna have to mute
propositional
you guys.
logic.
Just leave.
I'm gonna have
Just
to
leave.
mute
I said
you
I'd
guys.
answer it after, but if you're not
Just
gonna give me
like
time
when
to
you
speak, I'm not gonna
pretended
stop.
to understand
Nope.
propositional
Nope.
logic,
Nope. I'm not
when
even
you
going to address your question
pretended
until
to
you
know
let me
what a
speak.
biconditional
I'm not going
implication
to address
was,
your position.
and
Yeah, but I do
couldn't
know what it
even
is.
describe.
I do know what
when-
it is, but I'm not even
You
going to
could
address
not
your position.
even. No, you
Yep,
don't,
not
and you
even
couldn't
address
even
your position.
describe. You could not
Nope.
even describe
Nope.
when the
Nope.
biconditional
Why are you
implication
still
was true.
filibustering?
Everybody
just
watched
mute him?
you.
Could you just
Everybody
mute him,
watched
please?
you.
I
be
can't do it. I'm
unable-
chaotic evil. I can't
Everybody-
mute anyone. I
Everybody,
just can't do it.
everybody watched
Let
you.
just
be
let
unable
him
to-
let him run himself out,
Everybody
Tom.
asked
I'll give you
you.
2 minutes after he stops talking.
Everybody asked you what. Everybody understood that you could not produce an answer to the question. When is the biconditional implication true? It was very obvious that you were pretending to understand propositional
Well,
logic.
I'm just going to mute
And
him.
now-
let him.
And
let him.
now
finish.
you're trying to get
I'm gonna let him
away
finish, but I
from a
need you to
very
tell me when he's done,
from a
'cause I
very
muted him.
silly statement, right? I want you to acknowledge that there is a distinction between a proposition and some verb and a noun, or some adjective and a noun. For example, running cheetah is not a proposition. Do you understand that?
He has you muted, Isaac, so he can't hear you.
Right. I'm only going to ask that question until he replies. So,
Well, no,
yeah.
let him go. Let him go first. Let him say
N-
what he wants.
n-
Like you
no,
guys
no,
are
no,
talking
no,
over
what I
each other.
want, what I want is an answer to the question.
I
not
understand.
into
I
the
understand that, but we have to
Right.
exercise some kind of decorum here.
I don't do well when people dodge. I want him to concede. Right. He needs to acknowledge that there is a distinction between a proposition. Right. And the relevance of this is that initially the relevance of this
he's
is
still
that
going. Sorry, Tom.
The relevance of this is that, yeah, right. And I'm going to continue going, not because I'm intent on eating up time, but because I'm intent on actually getting an answer to what I ask. And when someone tries to avoid, when someone tries to avoid answering, I'm going to make the point and ask for an answer until I get it. Okay. I'm asking him if he understands.
He's still going, right? I mean, you're going to have to mute him.
If he understands that there's a if I'm muted, I'll leave. If there's a distinction between a proposition and the combination of a verb and a noun, or an adjective and a noun. The relevance of this question is that when he first put forward his supposed law of nature,
Adam, he's not going to stop.
I think just a verb and a noun, or an adjective
he has
and a noun.
to breathe, Tom.
And
and
then later it was a proposition. So it's important that he acknowledge the difference. So do you acknowledge the difference?
Okay, Tom, go ahead. You have the floor. Speak your mind for 20 minutes.
Do you acknowledge the difference? Do you acknowledge the difference?
My position
I'll try 5 more times.
Isaac,
try
please.
number 1.
He's still going.
Do you acknowledge the difference?
Isaac?
He's not going to stop.
Try number 2. Do you acknowledge the difference?
You're going to have to mute him.
Try number 3.
I can't do it. I'm chaotic evil, man. I can't mute somebody.
Try number 4.
I muted him.
I know you did, but he's just like.
Try number 5. Do you acknowledge the difference?
You got to understand how good this is. Man.
Okay,
this is like...
so TJump has clearly dodged the critique. If he ever wants to provide an answer, I'm happy to debate him again.
Well, don't leave, Isaac, because we have like a dozen questions here from the chat.
Oh, I'm only after. I mean, if you want to go right to the chat, that's fine. But I'm not allowing him to speak further until he answers the question.
No,
so if you want him. Well, then I'm going to leave, right? I expect an honest conversation. I expect an honest conversation where questions are answered. The second that's not happening, I have no interest.
He's still going, right?
I don't know how can we have an honest. How can if you won't even stop?
He
talking,
could answer the question.
Yeah, he's being dishonest. He's being completely dishonest. And
he could answer the question.
Hey, Isaac,
he could right. So answer the question.
Isaac,
so answer the question.
Isaac, stop.
You got to mute him.
Answer the question.
Tell me.
You can't answer the question.
I don't even know what the question is, Isaac, because you're talking over each other.
Well, the question for the millionth time is, does he understand that there's a distinction between a proposition and, for example, a noun and an adjective, or verb and an adjective, right? Saying like running cheetah is not a proposition.
Okay. You understand obviously, Tom, you understand that, I'm assuming.
I still have him muted. I have no idea what he's saying.
Okay, he's just saying that a noun is not a proposition. You understand that? Like coffee pot is not a proposition.
Obviously. He's just
okay. We can move on now. Thank God. Crisis averted.
This goes. No. I hate when people do this. You act as if you answer one question, I don't get to return to the question that it was asked because of. Right. So the reason that came up was because Tom tried to say that he gave the same description every time of the law. That's false. The first time it wasn't a proposition. So do you acknowledge that was wrong when you said that you gave the same description every time?
I think he still has you muted, so.
Yeah, I still have him muted. So is he done?
So, well, no, now that we understand that, we're back to the prior question, which is, do you understand that it was not the same statement each time you talked about the law?
Can we just let Tom have like a 2 minutes?
I want an answer to the question. Want an answer.
We give Tom 2 minutes, and then you can ask your question. That's how it works.
I'm burning out of energy. I'm gonna give him one try to answer the question.
Well, you're gonna gimp out on all the questions in the chat, though. I mean, that's kind of.
I'm afraid I am, because I'm not gonna sit here and listen to some guy ramble who won't answer a question.
I mean,
the question's clear.
That's kind of gimping out. I don't know. That's like a.
I'm happy to debate
dozens
anytime.
of questions.
I can be easily found, right? Or if you just want to move directly to Q&A, but I'm not willing to engage in a discussion where the guy's just going to ramble and not answer my questions.
Well, I feel like we heard your question. He answered your question. I think you should at least let him respond.
Right. So we got.
I said I was going to answer his question. I said I'm going to accurately represent my position.
He's ready to answer your question.
I never said I wasn't going to answer. I specifically said I will answer.
I'm going to leave. We'll let Tom, go on his rambles. Tom, when you're ready to answer.
Isaac, I'm going to have to. If you're leaving, Isaac, you're forfeiting the debate. Then, if you're leaving, you're totally forfeiting the debate.
All I'm going to say in closing,
you've had a stellar performance, but you're forfeiting the debate. If you're leaving.
Right. All I'm going to say in leaving is just that
it's
I'm always happy to debate.
It's a loss, man. If you leave, that's an immediate loss.
I next debate Tom, the question will remain the same, right? The question now is, does he understand that he in fact did not talk about the same thing each time he talked about the law? The first time he was not talking about a proposition.
It's a shame.
So
Isaac.
that's
Isaac. You've had near a perfect performance here.
To answer that, he can. So
Isaac,
I'm going to leave.
Isaac, you've had near a perfect performance here.
If Tom wants to pick up the debate at a later time and actually answer the question, I'm easily findable. Just come by the Discord. All right, have a good one. Bye, guys.
Oh, he left finally. Thank God. All right, so.
I hate to do it because I think Isaac was doing a great job, but I have to give it to Tom.
Now I want to actually answer the question.
Isaac gimped out. Yeah, go ahead, answer the question for us.
So his objection was that I was saying the same thing or saying different things every time. The first time I said involuntary impositions of will, and then I had to clarify because he was too stupid to understand that meant object A imposes on something, object B. But really those statements are synonymous. They mean the exact same thing. If there is any imposition on will, then it must necessarily come from an outside source, because you can't impose upon your own will. It wouldn't be an involuntary imposition. So necessarily, if there is an involuntary imposition of will, that means object A imposes on object B. So when I said those two things, they literally meant the same thing. He just wasn't smart enough to understand because he doesn't understand basic logic. So that was the problem. So yes, I was saying the same thing in each case, which is actually the answer to his question.
Okay, well, question from the chat. Stanton High, why is killing wrong?
Because does not accurately correspond to the law of nature, essentially, so far. We didn't get to the actual what it is, which is an abstract relation, but
Question for Tom. If morality is like gravity, would that mean that people always gravitate towards the choices that they perceive will lead to their will not being imposed upon by others?
in general, yes, because even gravity is universal. We can fight against it. Like we can jump, we can build spaceships and go away from each other. So we can oppose the law. It isn't absolute in every possible case, just like we can oppose gravity.
That was Guildmaster Skarma. Pragmatic culture. I'll take on either or both sides or both of these dudes next time. Set the date. I had a couple of super chats from Pragmatic Culture too. I don't know that I will have Ask Yourself on my channel again because of his kind of like childlike behavior. I mean, he gimped out. He totally gimped out, man. I thought to be honest with you, Tom, I kind of thought he was destroying you, but I mean, in the end, I have to give it to you just because he took off like a little baby, like a little bottle baby.
Yeah, he
like a little triggered bottle baby. I'm sorry, and he's messed up my thing. I'm trying to fix it as I'm doing everything else. Writer John Buck says, another question for Tom. Is my saying pink elephants an involuntary imposition of will in creating the concept of pink elephants to be imposed in your imagination? Ooh, interesting question.
No, because you weren't actually causing the pink elephant. The pink elephant is actually caused by biology. So you could say biology imposes involuntary impositions, but not your statement of pink elephants.
All right. And I will get to your super chats, Pragmatic Culture. I'm sorry. And I don't have eyes on the chat now while I'm reading these. So Guildmaster Skarma says, what type of living things qualify for morality? If animals are qualified to be moral, why can't plants be qualified too? This question can go to either debater, by the way. Well, I'm changing Isaac's title here to loser as we speak. So
I would say anything that's conscious, anything that has consciousness can be moral, because by my definition, immorality is an involuntary imposition on will. So it has to have will to be a moral actor, moral agent. So anything with consciousness, I would say, could qualify as a moral agent.
And Caffeinated Tweaker says, Tom, if involuntary imposition of will is morally bad, then slaughtering any living thing with a will of its own is morally wrong, including animals for food. Why did you walked right into this trap, Caffeinated Tweaker? He's a vegan, for goodness sake. Why are you asking this?
That is correct, but I'm not a vegan. I am just an immoral meat eater.
Oh, really? Okay.
He's right.
Okay.
He's right. It is immoral to kill animals. I totally grant that, but I still do it because I like cheeseburgers.
I'm going to throw a suck it in here next to Isaac's loser. There we go. Okay. Loser, suck it. Isaac, ask yourself. There we go. So let me get to the, there was a couple of super chats. Those are the only questions that went by. So Pragmatic Culture for $5 says, both losers. Answer is objective Christian ethics grounded in Thomasic metaphysics. Thomisistic. I don't know.
Thomistic as in Thomas Aquinas.
Maybe.
Thomistic.
Okay. Pragmatic Culture for another $5, and I thank you for the super chats, Prag. I've done a number of live streams with Pragmatic Culture, and he's a really smart guy. Maybe we'll set something up. You can debate him. Pragmatic Culture for $5 says, respect to the vegan dude. He's asking all the right questions. I don't know him, or if I agree with him, but sounds like he at least has knows some philosophy. GG. I don't know. GG. Good
Yeah,
game.
he did ask the right questions. He was asking good questions. He just didn't understand my answers. That was the problem.
Right. But he's a big sourpuss. I don't understand it. It's like, why did he run off to his safe space? Why couldn't he just like, it's super easy to zip it for just a second. I mean, I do these debates all the time. And I mean, I debated you, Tom, and you didn't answer any of my questions. I didn't give a fuck. Come on.
What? Which questions didn't I answer? I review.
Let's not relitigate it here. Him sake for $2 says, is this what happens when soy goes sour? I have to say yes. This is exactly what happens when soy goes sour. Right here, yeah. Ask yourself, is a vegan like he's got to be the biggest soy boy on the planet? I think he just proved our theory about soy and beta males. So anyway, Tom, if you want to have any kind of closing statement just for sticking it out, I feel like I should give you one. Even though, I mean, I got to admit, man, he was doing so good until he soy boyed out of here.
No, he was asking great questions. That was a fantastic discussion. He just wasn't understanding the answers, and that was the problem. Like when he was accusing me of saying, like, the first claim that involuntary imposition of will is different than object B imposes on object A, imposes involuntarily on the will of object A, is just his lack of basic understanding of how English works. You don't actually need to put that object A to make him say the same thing. They're literally saying the same thing because that's just what the word imposition means.
Yeah.
And he made a great example.
Oh, now Tom's frozen on us. Oh my God. Well, maybe
I have no idea what's happening, but damn it.
Oh, you're back. You're back. I can see you.
I think that's just too much processing power crashing my freaking internet.
I don't know.
Bits or something.
Plug that internet in. But go ahead. Go ahead with what you were saying, and we'll wrap up here.
So my analogy is that I was comparing the law of gravity, which refutes subjectivism because its truth condition is not based off of subjective values. It's based off of something that exists in reality. I was saying that exists in reality, gravity, law of gravity, which is the curvature of space-time. And I was saying there could exist something like that for morality. It just exists in reality, and it instantiates things. It causes things to happen, just like gravity causes the apple to fall. We can say it causes like babies being killed to be wrong, and then we can describe that. We describe the apple falling with a mathematical description: F equals ma, or E equals mc squared, or the Einsteinian version, and we can describe the baby being killed as an involuntary imposition of will. Now, all of these are an exact parallel. He kept arguing, oh, no, that's circular. Well, if it's circular in my case, then it's necessarily circular in the Newtonian case. So it's obviously not, unless you're going for the deep philosophical Agrippa's trilemma or something. So every one of his objections that he applied to my example would necessarily apply to the law of gravity example because they're one for one the same. He just didn't understand that math is an abstract description, just like my statement, involuntary impositions of will is an abstract description. It's not the actual thing in itself. He was confusing epistemology and ontology. But he was doing a really great job asking questions, and it really helped me to clarify my position pretty well. So I really appreciate him coming on. I just wish he would not pull his head out of his ass a little bit so he just let me answer and try to understand a little more.
Well, I'm going with the soy hypothesis. I mean, this guy just needs to lay off the soy. You know, too much... too much of that soy milk, I think, in the morning. So, but we'll go ahead and leave it there. Obviously, I'm curious your thoughts on this in the comments below. I was having a lot of fun. I think I have debated both Tom on this subject, so you can refer to our debate if you're interested to hear more. And I have had a discussion with Isaac when, I guess, on a day that he actually had taken his medication or something like that, because it actually went rather well. So you can check out both of those videos here, and I'll go ahead and leave it there. You want to say anything in closing, Tom, or are you good?
Thanks for watching. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for Ask Yourself for coming on. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, and his links for everyone are in the description. So take care, everyone. Have a great night, and we will see you later. Actually, I think I have another debate lined up tomorrow. So, but I think actually it might be with Ask Yourself and Tom and somebody else. I think it's Ask Yourself and writer John Buck. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We'll see. To be continued.